What up? This is Rapids. And so the singer David, the real reason why he hasn't been arrested yet is because the prosecutors are still waiting for more information. They can't rush the case and then bring him in and, have him sitting there and figuring out what's going on and trying to cover up stuff. They don't want to release too much information to the public right now. What they're doing is waiting on the official autopsy report. And it's taken a very long time. It's taken longer than usual because the body was so far gone and decomposing at the time of the discovery. So they found the body in a car that was registered to David, and they need to officially determine the cause of her not being alive. Once they do that, then they can move forward with charges. If they rush it, they're going to be looking kind of crazy because they're rushing to a charge. And I would think, though, at this point, they could at least bring them in on a charge of, the minimum right now is a misdemeanor. And that's all they could bring them in for now is hiding of a body, hiding the body. And I guess they're determining that the body was dismembered as well. But both of those, I guess, in California carry a very light charge. So to bring him in on that, they really don't want to do that because he'll be right out on bail immediately. And, I don't know. I guess that's what they're fearing is that, it's just such a light charge. They know and they suspect a lot more is going on. So Dave is officially a suspect now. And the thing is, I've seen other cities take them in on a lesser charge and then upgrade it to a more serious charge after the fact. I've seen that several times in my city. One guy was hanging on in the hospital. He had got poked up, hanging on in the hospital, and he was brought in on attempted M. And then after a week or something, he finally was unalived, and then they upgraded it to a official M charge. So I don't see why they can't do that with David. Why not bring him in? I guess they just don't want him to get brought in and then get released right out on bail. And that's because California, I'm hearing, has like one of those states where you can basically get out on bail pretty easy. So I think that's what they're thinking is, okay, he's going to just go in and get out on bail, and then maybe he'll run. I don't know what they're concerned about. But, yeah, I don't see why they can't just bring him in and then upgrade the charges. But I guess they don't want to bring him in on a light charge. That's what it looks like. They have to wait. They prefer to wait for that official cause of being unalive. Because as of right now, it could have been overdose or something, and they just dismembered and hid the body, and that's not a very serious charge, I guess, in California for some reason. They're saying that's like, especially if he has no priors, he can get off pretty easy on that, maybe even probation or something, So they just don't want to even play around with those light charges. They're hoping they can find the reason and the cause of the unaliving to be officially announced from the autopsy. And that's the holdup right now, is they're waiting on that official cause. Because 1 year max is what they're saying is if they don't got that official cause, he's only looking at like a year max, which is probably probation if he has no previous, and that's just not enough. I don't know how California has such light charges for dismembering a body and hiding it. I guess there would be two separate charges right there. One would be dismembering, one would be hiding or moving a body, and that's just not that serious, I guess, down there for some reason. So this is what they're waiting for. But now California, the prosecutors have officially named David as a suspect now. So he can no longer, he can no longer rest easy now. Now he knows he's done. He went from being a person of interest to actual suspect, and they're also saying behind the scenes they have a lot more information. They just don't want to leak everything out right now because it's an ongoing investigation. And that's what I guess that's the policy, is they just don't want the public to have all that they're looking into right now. And they're being very low key about everything. and they don't want to tip off David or any other suspects because they think there might be more suspects involved in this. So they want to get all their ducks in a row before they start lighting them up, and that's what they're doing. And they're figuring out everything they need to figure out so it runs smooth and they don't get embarrassed. You know what I'm saying? They don't want another OJ case or something where, you know, they have this high profile case and they're looking crazy because their investigation wasn't completed. The only thing that I'm wondering, like, well, it looks like David has, well, I'm hearing from reports that he's not cooperating anymore. So, I mean, and that's expected. I mean, he already linked up with a high profile lawyer. So of course his lawyer's gonna say, do not, you know, anything you say can and will be used against you. So don't say anything. They're probably telling them. Especially if if you're a suspect, it's like, yeah, don't say nothing, they're saying. Now, when it comes down to that, I mean, I've seen that work both ways sometimes. Sometimes, you know, depending on the situation, I don't know, if sometimes if you don't talk to them, if you're really innocent and you want to tell them, hey, look, I didn't do nothing, sometimes that works out in your best interest, you know. Like Tory Lanez, like if Kelsey did that, and if Tory didn't do it and Kelsey did it and he saw everything, at that moment I would have guessed that his best bet would have probably been to just tell them, hey, look, I didn't do that. This is what happened. Get his story out there so they can't bury it in, you know, because now he's trying to say something else and they're not letting him say nothing. You know what I'm saying? During his appeal, now he wants to try to come clean and say, hey, I didn't do this. I'm suggesting Kelsey did it, but I didn't want to say that. You know, all that stuff, you can save that now because it's too late. So, you know, it depends on if you're innocent or guilty. Sometimes it might work in your best interest to let them know you didn't have nothing to do with this and tell them everything you know. Sometimes if you're really innocent, I don't know. I'm not giving legal advice or nothing, but I've seen it work both ways, though. Usually, though, the rule is to just don't say nothing. But then sometimes they look at you even more. Well, they're already looking at you. That's too bad. But if they're already looking at you, but sometimes, you know, if you don't say nothing, they could. That's happened to me. I didn't do nothing. I didn't say nothing, and then they was like, "Well, I'm taking you in because I'm gonna just go by what the other person said." It's like, dang, I probably should have just defended myself then. I was going by that rule because I always was brought up on that rule. Like, don't tell them nothing. Innocent or guilty, just don't speak to them. And that got me jammed up in something, but they dropped it because I didn't do nothing. They figured that out after taking me in and, you know, going through a little bit of the legal process. And then eventually they was like, nah, forget this case, you know, because I didn't do nothing. And I should have just told them right there on the spot. You know what I'm saying? So that worked out. You know, that's when I realized, okay, so sometimes it does help to probably defend yourself. I don't know. But the rule is to not say nothing. And that's what David's obviously doing now. He's not saying nothing. And I think it's smart for him not to say nothing because a lot of people think he did it. It's like, who else did it? You know what I'm saying? Who else did that? You know what I'm saying? Like, he's already been linked with her and they already connected David to that girl Celeste. You know, that underage girl. They already linked a lot of times. They were acquaintances at the very least, and people say they were probably dating, which would be another criminal charge, you would think, if they were dating. And maybe that's why he wanted to cover, you know, unalive her, as if maybe he was trying to save and protect his career, or maybe a manager did that. Maybe a close friend did that, trying to protect their bag and seeing like, hey, this girl is trouble, you know. So that's what prosecutors are trying to determine, is exactly who did that to her, because a lot of people could have had a motive, not just David. You know, people was getting paid off of David. I never heard of him until all this went down, but I guess he was signed with Interscope or something and doing pretty good. So there's a lot of people that would be interested in probably keeping that girl, you know what I'm saying, out of the way. And there could have been motive for a few people. I would say mainly David, but you never know. Someone could have been working for David and being like, yeah, this is a problem. His manager or something, who knows? Somebody could have just said, hey, you know, we got to take care of her because this could come up to bite you later. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, David is finally a suspect. I don't know. I just think that they should arrest him, but I guess I see their point. You arrest him, and then he's gonna be right out on bail on a misdemeanor light charge. They just don't want to play around with that. At least if they could have, you know, in the situation I referenced earlier, they at least took him in on an attempted M. You know what I'm saying? Where, okay, it's not like he checked in and was bailing right out. He was actually in there that whole time. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know what his bail was set at, but I've seen a couple cases like that where, yeah, that's very different because these people were booked on attempted M, and then the charges were upgraded to an M. With David, the singer David, is like, no, you book him on a misdemeanor charge that's not even that significant. Yeah, I see now why they don't want to play around with this. They're trying to get perfection. They want a perfect case. They can't play around. This is how the system works sometimes. It's like they're making their decisions based on what makes the most sense for the state of California. They want to make sure they get this dude off the streets and make sure it's done properly without any embarrassing moments, you know, especially with such a high profile case. This can make or break a career, actually. Like, the prosecutor that's in charge of this has a lot of interest in making sure this runs smooth and they get the right information. And, you know, this, because, you know, prosecuting a case like this could probably get her, or whoever is in charge of this case, the DA, or I guess, this could be like a big moment for their career, you know, a make or break moment, actually. Because if it goes bad, that could be a bad moment for their career. If they take them in and it goes left, you know what I'm saying, and they can't hold on to them, or if something crazy happens in the public, yeah, this could go left for the DA. So the DA has all the interest in the world to make sure they don't make any mistakes when they're prosecuting this case, and that's why David has not been arrested yet, and so that's why it's taking so long. And they're working on it. I think it's taking a little bit longer than anybody expected. I don't even think the prosecutors were expecting it. I mean, it's so difficult for them to determine what happened to her, because she was, you know, I guess it was a pretty messy scene when they found her. It's like they're trying to say, like, damn, we can't, like, what even happened to this person? You know what I'm saying? Like, we have no idea how to, you know, it's like they don't have any clue on how to officially determine the cause, and because that's going to come up in the court case, you know, during trial and everything. This is what they're going to have to prove, and they're going to have the experts say, yeah, this is how she's not alive no more. This is exactly what happened to her. And then you know, if they can't prove that, then what type of case? The lawyer's going to eat that alive. So I don't know. I mean, this could go either way at this point. You know what I'm saying? If that autopsy guy cannot figure out what happened to her, David's gonna end up walking. You know what I'm saying? Even if he is a suspect, even if they do suspect something happened to him, they're probably gonna have to just probably charge him with you know, moving the body and dismembering and stuff, and just, even though that's not what they want. If it comes down to it, they're gonna at least probably take them in on that, but they're gonna wait. They're gonna wait until, you know what I'm saying, it gets to that point. But yeah, let me know what y'all think in the comments. I personally think he did it. Like, come on, like, common sense to me would say he did it. It's just the legal system has to play out right now, and if he did it and they can't figure out how to prove that, then you know what I'm saying, this could be one of those freak cases where he might be able to walk, depending on what happens with the outcome of this autopsy report. So yeah, this has been Rap Hits. Hey, let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Hit that like button. Let's get over 100 likes on this video. Make sure you subscribe. Follow Rap Hits on social media and everything like that. I'm out.